The gavel slammed down like a thunderclap in the stale air of the county courthouse in dusty Willow Ridge, Texas, sealing Aiden Harper's world into ruins before he could even draw breath to protest. Everything, the ranch, the accounts, the goddamn legacy, it's all yours now, Wyatt, the lawyer droned, his voice flat as the endless plains outside, while Aiden's stepfather's ghost seemed to leer from the will's yellowed pages. In that frozen heartbeat, Aiden locked eyes with his stepbrother across the oak table, Wyatt's green gaze flickering not with triumph, but a haunted mirror of his own unraveling soul. Aiden's boots scraped against the polished floor as he bolted from the room, the echo chasing him down the marble hallway like accusations he couldn't outrun. Willow Ridge had always been a cage disguised as home. Sprawling acres of sun-baked earth where the Harper Ranch sprawled like a lazy king, its fences whispering secrets of oil money buried deep in the soil. But now, with his mother's remarriage 12 years back dissolving into her quiet deathbed regrets, and his stepfather Harlan Kane's final spiteful stroke of the pen, it was all ash in Aiden's mouth. He burst through the heavy doors into the blinding November sun, the kind that scorched without warming, and doubled over by his battered Ford pickup, retching dry heaves onto the gravel. Jesus, Aiden, wait up! Wyatt's voice cut through the haze, low and gravelly, laced with that Texas drawl that always sounded like it carried the weight of unspoken storms. Aiden straightened, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand, and shot a glare over his shoulder. Wyatt Kane, 3 years his senior, stood there in faded Levi's and a threadbare flannel, his broad shoulders filling the doorway like he owned the light. Tall and lean from years wrangling cattle under Harlan's iron fist, Wyatt's face was all sharp angles, high cheekbones shadowed by a perpetual 5 o'clock scruff, those piercing green eyes framed by lashes too long for a man who'd spent his life proving he wasn't soft. What the hell do you want, Wyatt? Come to gloat? Bask in your windfall? Aiden's words spat out like bullets, his chest heaving. At 25, Aiden had inherited his mother's softer features, wavy chestnut hair that curled at the nape when it grew too long, hazel eyes that shifted like autumn leaves, and a build more wiry than imposing, honed from mending fences and nursing sick foals rather than breaking broncos. He'd always been the quiet one, the dreamer Harlan dismissed as too sensitive for ranch life, while Wyatt bore the bruises of being the real son, the one Harlan had molded into a carbon copy of his own bitter ambition. Wyatt's jaw tightened, a muscle ticking beneath the skin. He stepped forward, hands shoved deep in his pockets, boots crunching gravel. You think I'd celebrate this shit? Harlan hated us both, Aiden. Different reasons, same poison. That will ain't a gift. It's his last fuck you to the world. He glanced back at the courthouse, as if expecting Harlan's specter to rise from the documents. The old man had dropped dead 2 weeks ago from a heart attack mid-rant about ungrateful whelps, leaving behind a fortune Aiden had assumed would split the empire. The ranch, the mineral rights worth millions, the sprawling house with its wraparound porch overlooking the Red River. But no. Harlan had rewritten it all in a fevered haze, 6 months before the end, funneling every dime to Wyatt. His blood, the one he'd dragged from a broken first marriage and beaten into shape. Aiden, the stepson, got a pittance. A rusty tractor and a letter that read like a slap. Earn your keep like a man, boy. The betrayal burned hotter than the sun on Aiden's neck. His mother, Elena, had married Harlan for stability after Aiden's drunk of a father skipped town, but she'd whispered apologies on her deathbed 3 years prior, eyes glassy with morphine. He'll provide for you, mi amor. Family sticks. Lies. All of it. Wyatt closed the distance, his shadow falling over Aiden like a reluctant truce. Up close, Aiden could smell the faint tang of hay and sweat on him, a scent that stirred unwelcome memories. Late nights in the barn, shoulders brushing as they patched roofs, Wyatt's rare laugh cutting through the silence like a lifeline. They'd never been close, not really. Harlan pitted them against each other from day one. Wyatt the golden heir, Aiden the outsider. But in stolen moments away from the old man's glare, there'd been a flicker. A shared cigarette under the stars, Wyatt's hand steadying Aiden after a fall from the hayloft. Nothing more. Nothing Aiden dared name. I didn't ask for this, Wyatt muttered, voice dropping to a rumble. Hell, I told him to cut me out last year after. You know. He trailed off, rubbing the back of his neck, where faded scars from Harlan's belt peeked above his collar. Aiden knew the stories whispered around town. Wyatt's wild teenage years, the fights, the rumors of boys in the back of pickups that Harlan drowned in whiskey-fueled rage. Stepbrother or not, you're the only blood I've got left in this godforsaken place. We gotta talk this out. Aiden laughed, bitter and hollow, leaning against the truck's door. Talk? Harlan's lawyer already did. You're the king of Willow Ridge now. Drive me off your land like the stray I am. The words tasted like defeat, but beneath them coiled something sharper. Resentment laced with a grief he couldn't voice. He'd poured his soul into that ranch. Dawn patrols for coyotes, nights birthing calves in the chill, dreaming of turning it green with sustainable herds. Now, eviction loomed. The bank would swallow him whole. Wyatt's eyes darkened, storm clouds gathering. It's our land, Aiden. Or it was. Come back to the house. Harlan's shit still scattered everywhere. Maybe there's something in his desk, a loophole. He hesitated, then added softer. Please. I can't. I won't do this alone. The plea hung between them, fragile as spider silk. Aiden searched Wyatt's face, hunting for deceit, but found only cracks, the same exhaustion mirroring his own. Against every screaming instinct, he nodded. Fine. But if this is some pity play, I'll torch the barn on my way out. They drove in silence back to the ranch, the Ford's engine growling like a beast nursing wounds. Willow Ridge unfolded around them. Weathered barns sagging under bluebonnet vines, the river glinting silver through cottonwoods, the air thick with the promise of winter rain. The house loomed at the end of the drive. A two-story Victorian with peeling white paint and a widow's walk where Aiden used to escape as a kid, staring at the stars until his mother's voice called him down. Inside, the place reeked of neglect. Dust motes dancing in shafts of light, Harlan's bourbon bottles clinking faintly in the sideboard. They headed straight for the study, a cavern of leather-bound ledgers and mounted deer heads staring down with glassy judgment. Wyatt yanked open the desk drawers, papers avalanching out like buried sins. Aiden rifled through them, heart-pounding fingers brushing yellowed envelopes postmarked from Austin law firms. Nothing, Aiden growled after 20 minutes, slamming a file shut. Just more of his bullshit tax dodges. He sank into the creaky desk chair, head in hands, the weight crashing down. No money, no home, no future. 25, what was he? A ranch hand without a ranch, a son without a legacy. And Wyatt, God, Wyatt, inheriting it all, the one person who'd seen Aiden's tears after Elena's funeral and said nothing, just sat with him on the porch swing until dawn. Wyatt leaned against the bookshelf, arms crossed, watching him with an intensity that prickled Aiden's skin. We fight it. Contest the will. Harlan was half senile at the end, dementia, the doc said off record. His voice cracked on the last word and Aiden looked up, startled. Wyatt's fists clenched, knuckles white. He beat it out of me, you know? Every time he caught me looking at a guy wrong. Said it'd ruin the Kane name. Locked me in the root cellar once for a week after some bullshit rumor from town. The confession landed like a gut punch. Aiden's throat tightened. He'd known fragments, the bruises Wyatt hid under long sleeves, the way he'd flinch at raised voices, but never the depth. Why tell me now? Aiden whispered, voice raw. Because you're the only one who gets it. The outsider. The one he tried to break but couldn't. Wyatt pushed off the wall, dropping to his haunches in front of Aiden, their knees almost touching. Up close, his breath was warm, mint over coffee, and his eyes, those damn eyes, held a vulnerability Aiden had never seen. I don't want the ranch, Aiden. Not like this. Not without fixing what he tore apart. The air thickened, charged with the unsaid. Aiden's pulse thrummed in his ears, a dangerous heat blooming low in his belly. He wanted to shove Wyatt away, scream that it changed nothing, but instead, his hand lifted, hovering near Wyatt's jaw. The touch never landed. A sharp knock shattered the moment. The lawyer again, flanked by two suited men from the bank. Mr. Kane, Mr. Harper, the lawyer intoned, clipboard clutched like a shield. Eviction proceedings start tomorrow. Clear the premises by noon, or it's trespassing. Wyatt rose slowly, his back to Aiden like a wall reforming. Get out, he snarled, voice steel. The men retreated, but the damage was done. By morning the locks would change, the life they'd clawed from this soil stripped bare. That night, they packed by lantern light, boxes filling with photos of Elena's smile, Wyatt's faded rodeo ribbons, Harlan's cursed ledgers. Aiden found a hidden drawer in the nightstand, letters from Wyatt's mother, pleading for visits he'd never gotten. "He kept these from me," Wyatt murmured, crumpling one. "Said she was trash. But she loved me." Aiden's chest ached. "Like mine loved you in her way." Elena had tried, baking Wyatt's favorite pecan pie on his birthdays, calling him son, when Harlan wasn't listening. Fractured family, stitched with good intentions and ripped by cruelty. Dawn broke bloody over the horizon as they loaded the last crate into Aiden's truck and Wyatt's old Chevy. The ranch house stood sentinel, windows dark as accusations. Wyatt paused at the porch steps, hand on the rail. "Where to now, brother?" Aiden gripped the keys, knuckles pale. "Seattle. Mom always said it was a fresh start. Rain to wash the dust away. You in?" Wyatt's grin was ghost thin but real. "Hell yeah. Together or bust." As they peeled down the drive, Willow Ridge shrinking in the rearview, Aiden felt the first crack in his armor. Not breaking but yielding. Betrayal had orphaned them both, but in the wreckage something stirred. A road untraveled. A hand extended in the dark. The highway stretched north like a vein pulsing toward reinvention, but Aiden's mind looped back to that study, Wyatt's confession hanging unfinished. What if the inheritance wasn't the only thing lost? What if survival meant facing the parts of themselves Harlan had buried deepest? Interstate 35 blurred into a ribbon of asphalt under tires that hummed a monotonous dirge, the Texas panhandle giving way to Oklahoma's flat sprawl as Aiden gripped the wheel, knuckles bone white. Wyatt rode shotgun, one arm slung out the window, wind whipping his dark hair into chaos. They'd stopped once at a roadside diner in Wichita Falls, choking down greasy eggs and black coffee, the silence between them thick as the fog rolling off the Brazos. Aiden stole glances at his stepbrother, the way Wyatt's throat bobbed when he swallowed, the faint scar above his lip from a bar fight Harlan had laughed off as manhood training. It unnerved him, this proximity, like sharing a foxhole with a stranger who knew your scars by heart. "Ever think about running sooner?" Aiden asked finally, voice cutting the static of a classic country station crooning about lost loves. Patsy Cline's ache mirrored the hollow in his gut. Wyatt snorted, eyes on the horizon where thunderheads brewed. "Every damn day." But Harlan had his hooks in deep, the ranch was his chain, and I was the dog too loyal to bite. He paused, fishing a crumpled pack of Marlboros from his vest. "What about you? Always the good son, patching up his messes. Why stick around?" Aiden's laugh was sharp, self-mocking. "Good son? Try invisible. Mom died and I became the help. Cooked his meals, balanced his books, took his shit because family, right? Blood or not." The word tasted sour. Elena's rosary beads still dangled from the rearview, a talisman against the ghosts chasing them. She'd met Harlan at a church picnic in Lubbock, his rough charm masking the rot beneath. Aiden had been 13, wide-eyed and mother-clinging. Wyatt, 16 and sullen, shipped in from a Dallas halfway house after his own mother's overdose. They crossed into Kansas as dusk bled purple across the fields, golden wheat bowing like penitents. Wyatt lit a smoke, the cherry glowing like a false promise. "Heard you crying once after she passed. Out by the river. Thought about going to you but, fuck, I was scared he'd smell weakness on me too." Aiden's chest tightened, memory flooding back. The Red River's murmur mocking his sobs, Elena's empty rocker on the porch. He'd felt Wyatt's gaze that night, a shadow in the cottonwoods, but dawn brought only Harlan's bellow for breakfast. Scared of what? Him. Or us? The question hung loaded. Wyatt exhaled smoke in a slow dragon's breath, eyes narrowing. "Both. He caught me once with Tommy Reyes behind the feed store. 14 years old, fumbling like idiots. Belt came down so hard I blacked out. Woke up with him preaching about fixing me. After that I buried it. Deep." Aiden swallowed, the truck cab shrinking. He'd buried his own secrets. The way his pulse raced watching Wyatt rope calves at the county fair. Lithe muscles coiling under sun-kissed skin. The stolen glances in the bunkhouse shower, steam veiling shame. In Willow Ridge, being gay was a whisper that could curdle milk. A sin Harlan equated with horse thieves. Aiden had dated girls in high school, fumbling kisses under bleachers to prove he was normal, but the emptiness lingered like a bruise. You ever? Aiden trailed off, cheeks burning. The road curved, headlights slicing night. Wyatt crushed the cigarette in the ashtray. Yeah, a few times in Amarillo dives. Quick and dirty, no names. You. College, 1 semester at Texas Tech before Harlan yanked the tuition. Some guy in the dorms, art major with tattoos like maps. Aiden's voice steadied, the admission a stone lifted. Felt right until it didn't. Came home reeking of regret. They fell quiet, the shared confessions weaving an invisible thread. By midnight they pulled into a no-tell-motel outside Salina. Neon sign buzzing, vacancy like a siren's call. 1 room, 2 beds, economy of desperation. Aiden showered first, scalding water rinsing road grime but not the ache. Wrapped in a threadbare towel, he emerged to find Wyatt sprawled on his bed, shirtless, ribs mapping old fractures like constellations of pain. Harlan's handiwork? Aiden nodded at the faded lattice across Wyatt's side. Wyatt's grin was wry.
Rodéo accident.
Or so he told the doc. He sat up, muscles shifting under pale skin dusted with freckles from endless summers. Your turn to spill. What's the worst he did to you? Aiden dropped onto his bed, towel pooling at his waist, vulnerability a reckless tide. Called me a pansy once, after I wouldn't fight some kid at school for calling mom a gold digger. Locked me in the tack room overnight. Said it'd toughen me up. The memory clawed. Darkness pressing like Harlan's palm on his shoulder, the air thick with leather and fear. Wyatt's face hardened, a predator's mask. Bastard. Should have broken his jaw when I had the chance. He stood, crossing the room in 2 strides, perching on Aiden's bed's edge. Their knees brushed, electric. We're free now. No more chains. Aiden's breath hitched, the air humming with unspoken want. Wyatt's hand rose, thumb tracing Aiden's collarbone. Featherlight, igniting sparks. Wyatt. Aiden's voice was a plea, half-warning. But Wyatt leaned in, lips brushing Aiden's temple, warm and tentative. Let me fix something for once. The kiss followed, soft as rain on parched earth. Wyatt's mouth tentative, tasting of salt and smoke, deepening as Aiden yielded, fingers threading into dark hair. It was messy, urgent, years of tension uncoiling in gasps and grips. Wyatt's hands mapped Aiden's back, reverent, as if memorizing a forbidden text. They broke apart, foreheads pressed, breaths mingling. This changes everything, Aiden whispered, terror and thrill twisting. Wyatt's eyes gleamed fierce. Good. It needed to. Sleep came fitful, bodies tangled in the narrow bed. Wyatt's heartbeat a lullaby against Aiden's spine. Dawn brought reality. Check out at 7, another 1,000 miles to Seattle. They packed without words, the kiss a ghost between them, sweet and sharp. The planes rolled on, conversations turning to dreams deferred. Wyatt confessed wanting to train horses, not drill for oil. Aiden spoke of organic farming, turning Willow Ridge into something sustainable. We could have done it together, Aiden said, voice wistful. Still can, Wyatt replied, hand squeezing his thigh. Start small. Find a plot up north built from dirt. Hope flickered, fragile. But as they hit the Rockies' foothills, a call shattered it. The lawyer again, voice oily. Banks accelerating foreclosure. Ranch auctions Friday. Mr. Kane, your inheritance is tied up in probate, 6 months minimum. No payouts till then. Wyatt's face drained of color. What the hell? That's our buffer. Aiden pulled over at a scenic overlook. Evergreens whispering condolences. We're broke. Flat. His savings. $300. Wyatt's. A paycheck from last month's branding. Gas money to Seattle, maybe rent for a month in a flop house. Wyatt punched the dash, knuckles splitting. Harlan's final joke. Leave us penniless princes. They sat in silence, the void yawning. Aiden reached for Wyatt's hand, lacing fingers. Then we hustle. Wait tables, sling hay, whatever. Survive. Wyatt turned, eyes blazing with that same fire from the study. Together. The kiss that followed was fiercer, sealing the pact. As they crested the pass into Washington, rain sheeting the windshield, Seattle loomed. Gray spires piercing clouds, a city of reinvention or ruin. Their motel in Willow Ridge felt like another life. Here in the deluge they were adrift, two men forged in betrayal, clinging to each other like lifelines. But Aiden couldn't shake the undercurrent. Wyatt's inheritance, when it came, would it pull them apart? Or bind them tighter in the storm? Little did they know, the real tempest brewed not in probate courts, but in the secrets Harlan had dragged to his grave, truths that would test if their fragile bond could weather the flood. Seattle's rain fell in relentless sheets, turning the Emerald City's streets into mirrored mazes where neon reflections danced like fever dreams. Aiden and Wyatt claimed a third-floor walk-up in Capitol Hill, a sagging Victorian divided into shoebox apartments that smelled of damp plaster and takeout pho. Rent gobbled their last cash. $800 for a month, leaving scraps for ramen and bus passes. The place had one bed, a hot plate, and windows fogged with their breaths, but it was theirs. A fortress against the downpour. First week they pounded pavement. Aiden in threadbare chinos at a coffee shop called Bean There, steaming lattes for hipsters who tipped in loose change. Wyatt hauling crates at Pike Place Market, fishmongers barking orders like Harlan never could. Evenings blurred into exhaustion. Bodies colliding in the dim kitchenette, kisses tasting of espresso and salt, hands exploring with a hunger born of scarcity. Wyatt's touch was worshipful, tracing Aiden's hip bones like Braille, whispering, "You're mine now, no takebacks." Aiden melted into it, the intimacy a balm on wounds still raw. But dawn always brought the grind, the gnawing fear that love couldn't pay bills. "You're glowing," Wyatt teased one night, toweling off after a shared shower, steam curling around his tattooed forearm. A lone Mustang inked in Lubbock, symbol of wild hearts caged. Aiden, perched on the fire escape with a lukewarm beer, laughed it off. Blamed the endorphins. Or malnutrition. Truth was, Seattle stirred something dormant. Street murals splashed with queer pride rainbows, couples hand in hand at coffee shops. A freedom Willow Ridge had suffocated. Aiden caught himself smiling at baristas who flirted back, no judgment in their eyes. But cracks spiderwebbed. Wyatt's calls from the probate lawyer grew terse. Delays, audits, Harlan's irregularities tying funds in knots. "Another month, maybe two," he'd mutter, pacing the peeling linoleum. Aiden watched him unravel, the ranch hand's bravado fraying into late-night silences, bottles of cheap bourbon vanishing. One storm-lashed evening, after Wyatt came home reeking of brine and defeat, Aiden cornered him by the sink. "Talk to me. You're shutting down." Aiden's hands cupped Wyatt's face, thumb stroking stubble soft as forgiveness. Wyatt's eyes, storm green, flickered away. "It's nothing. Just dreamed of the ranch last night. Harlan standing in the yard, laughing as it burned. Woke up swinging." He pulled Aiden close, burying his face in the crook of his neck, body trembling. "What if I can't provide? What if I'm just like him? Empty promises." Aiden's heart clenched. "You're not. We're building this. Us." He kissed Wyatt slow, pouring reassurance into the press of lips, until they tumbled onto the bed, rain pattering a rhythm to their gasps. In the afterglow, tangled sheets and sweat-slick skin, Aiden traced the scars on Wyatt's back. "Tell me about Tommy." Wyatt stiffened, then sighed, rolling to face him. Moonlight silvered his features. Summer Fair '04. He was the carny running the ring toss. Dark hair, easy grin, hands that smelled like cotton candy. "We snuck behind the Ferris wheel after closing. Clumsy kisses, hearts hammering. Harlan found out from some busybody, dragged me home by the ear. Beat me till I couldn't walk, then made me watch him burn Tommy's bandana, the one I'd kept." His voice cracked. "Said it'd cure the devil in me." Aiden's throat burned. "Bastard. I wish I'd known." He imagined a younger Wyatt, fierce and frightened, and his own boyish confusion, crushes on the quarterback dismissed as bromance. "My first was real though. Not a ghost." Wyatt propped on an elbow, curiosity softening the pain. "Spiel." Josh, a tech lanky artist, painted nudes in the quad to scandalize the frat boys. We hooked up in his studio, surrounded by canvases of bodies twisted in ecstasy. Felt like art raw alive. But he ghosted after a month, said I was too vanilla for his scene. Aiden shrugged, but the rejection stung fresh. Came home to Harlan's lectures on settling down with a nice girl. Buried it till you. Wyatt's smile was wolfish. Lucky me. He leaned in, nipping Aiden's earlobe, but the playfulness faded as reality intruded. A eviction notice slipped under the door that morning, rent due in 10 days. They schemed over cold pizza. Side gigs, plasma donations, Aiden's barista tips pooled with Wyatt's market haul. Freelance horse training. Wyatt suggested, eyes lighting. Seattle's got equestrian spots in the suburbs. Aiden nodded, pitching urban farm co-ops. Hope sparked, but it guttered when Wyatt's phone buzzed, the lawyer voice crackling over speaker. Complications, Mr. Kane. Your father's estate. Irregularities. Possible fraud. Feds sniffing around. Wyatt's face ashen. Fraud? Harlan was crooked as they come. Skimmed leases, bribed inspectors, but how's that on me? Guilt by inheritance. Sit tight. Click. Aiden pulled him into a hug, but Wyatt shrugged free, storming to the window. This city's eating us alive. Maybe head south, California, start over. No running, Aiden said firmly, hand on his shoulder. We face it. Together. The words anchored them, leading to a night of fierce lovemaking. Bodies affirming what words couldn't. You are enough. Weeks blurred. A queer open mic at a dive bar where Aiden read poetry about roots ripped from red earth. Wyatt's applause thunderous, stolen afternoons in Discovery Park, picnicking on peanut butter sandwiches, Wyatt sketching Mustangs in the sand while Aiden dozed on his chest. Romance bloomed in margins, wildflowers tucked into Aiden's apron. Mixtapes of Willie Nelson crooned low. But poverty gnawed. Boots with holes, utilities flickering out, Wyatt's temper flaring over burnt toast. The turning point came mid-December. Snow dusting the sound like powdered sugar on regret. Wyatt landed a gig mucking stalls at a Bellevue stable. Decent pay, flexible hours. Aiden picked up catering shifts for holiday parties, schmoozing tech bros in ill-fitting vests. Christmas Eve they splurged on a scrawny tree from a corner lot, stringing popcorn garlands by candlelight. Wyatt knelt by the radio tuning to Kexp's Yuletide set, pulling Aiden into a slow dance, hips swaying to Dean Martin, laughter bubbling as they stepped on toes. Merry Christmas, cowboy, Wyatt murmured, breath hot against Aiden's ear. Aiden's heart swelled. First one free. The kiss deepened, tree lights haloing them, but as midnight told, Wyatt's phone lit up, unknown number. He answered, face draining. What? Now. Pause. Aiden. It's the feds. Harlan's mess. Embezzlement from tribal lands. They're freezing everything. Indefinitely. The room spun. Aiden sank to the floor, tree branches scratching like claws. Betrayal's second wave. Not just loss but taint. Wyatt's inheritance, their phantom safety net. Poisoned. Wyatt dropped beside him, arms enveloping. We'll fight. Lawyers, appeals. With what? Aiden's voice broke. We're drowning, Wyatt. And now you're tainted too. Wyatt cupped his chin, forcing eye contact. Hey, look at me. This changes nothing. You're my home now. The kiss was desperate, a lifeline in the gale, but as they clung, Aiden wondered. Could love outrun the storm, or would it drag them under? Outside, snow fell thicker, burying the city in white silence. But beneath, currents churned, secrets from Willow Ridge resurfacing, threatening to unmoor them entirely. January's chill seeped through the apartment's thin walls, frost etching fractals on the windows like accusations frozen in time. The federal freeze on Harlan's estate hit like a blizzard, burying Wyatt under subpoenas and interrogations that left him hollow-eyed and chain-smoking on the fire escape. Aiden watched from the kitchenette, brewing weak tea, his own shifts at the coffee shop a numb blur of forced smiles and spilled milk. The eviction loomed, 2 days till the landlord's hammer fell, and their bank account echoed zero, plasma money burned on bus fare to the FBI's Seattle field office. Wyatt returned from his third voluntary interview that afternoon, coat dusted with sleet, carrying a manila envelope like a plague flag. They think I knew, he said flatly, tossing it on the table. Papers spilled. Ledgers detailing Harlan siphoning from native allotments near the ranch, bribes to silence the local council. Bastard laundered it through fake leases. Millions. And get this, Elena signed off on some back in '09. Aiden's stomach plummeted. Mom? No. She wouldn't. But doubt wormed in. Elena's migraines those years, her hushed arguments with Harlan, the way she'd press cash into Aiden's palm for college, eyes averted. Wyatt slumped into a chair, rubbing temples. Feds say she was coerced. Or complicit. Doesn't matter, it's leverage. They're offering immunity if I flip on any co-conspirators. Like you. Rage ignited, hot and blinding. Aiden snatched the envelope, scanning signatures. There, Elena Harper Kane, loopy script on a transfer form. This is bullshit. She hated his greed. Cried over those families losing homes. Memories flooded. Elena volunteering at the reservation clinic, baking fry bread for powwows, whispering to Aiden about making amends. Had Harlan twisted her love into chains? Wyatt's hand covered his, steadying. I told them to fuck off. We're in this swim or sink. But his voice wavered, exhaustion carving deeper lines around his mouth. That night, as sleet lashed the panes, they made love with a ferocity born of fraying edges. Aiden on top, pinning Wyatt's wrists, claiming control in thrusts that blurred pain and pleasure. You're mine, Aiden growled, echoing Wyatt's earlier vow. But in the quiet aftermath, doubt lingered like smoke. The eviction came at dawn, landlords knock a death knell. They loaded duffels into the truck, clothes, Elena's rosary, Wyatt's sketchpad, and drove into the gray, homeless specters haunting every corner. A shelter in Pioneer Square took them temporarily, cots in a fluorescent-lit dorm reeking of bleach and despair. Aiden lay awake, listening to Wyatt's shallow breaths, the city's pulse throbbing beyond thin walls. We can't stay here, he whispered at midnight. It's killing you. Wyatt rolled toward him, fingers tracing Aiden's jaw. Then we go rogue. Squat in the woods, forage like outlaws. Half joke, half truth, desperation sharpening survival's edge. By week's end, they found tenuous footing. Wyatt's stable gig expanded to private lessons, rich suburbs craving cowboy charm. Aiden landed a line cook spot at a Capitol Hill bistro, flames licking pans as he seared salmon mined elsewhere. Evenings, they crashed at a coworker's couch in Fremont. A tattooed lesbian named Riley who eyed their clasped hands with knowing approval. Love's the best hustle, she quipped, passing a joint. But the feds circled. A tail followed Wyatt home one rainy Tuesday, unmarked sedan idling curbside. Inside the apartment, Riley's generosity extended to sublet. Aiden paced as Wyatt relayed the latest. They've got tapes. Harlan bragging to a barfly about bleeding the engines dry. And a letter. From my mom. Aiden froze. To Harlan. Wyatt nodded, unfolding a photocopy. Scrawled in faded blue ink. Keep Wyatt away from the truth or I'll tell Elena everything. The accident wasn't hers. You pushed her that night on the bridge. Wyatt's voice trembled. Mom died in a wreck when I was 6. Harlan said she swerved drunk. But this. He caused it. Rage over her affair, some guy from the res. The room tilted. Aiden pulled Wyatt down, holding him as sobs racked that unbreakable frame. He killed her. And lied. To all of us. Wyatt's grief poured out. A dam breached, years of loyalty shattered. Aiden rocked him, murmuring nonsense comforts, but his own mind reeled. Elena's accident? No, hers was cancer, slow and cruel. But the letter implied more. A web of violence Harlan wove, ensnaring them all. Dawn brought resolve. We expose him, Aiden said, brewing coffee strong as intent. Anonymously. Leak to the press, the tribes. Clear your name. Wyatt's eyes hardened, phoenix from ashes. Hours. They spent the day at the Central Library, poring over public records, piecing Harlan's empire of deceit. Falsified deeds, suppressed claims from the Comanche descendants. By nightfall, an encrypted email to a Seattle PI. Riley's contact. Set the wheels turning. Cost. $500 they didn't have, but Wyatt pawned his rodeo buckle, silver glinting farewell. Retribution brewed, but so did intimacy's deepening. One fog-shrouded Sunday they escaped to Alki Beach, boots sinking in wet sand, waves whispering Pacific secrets. Wyatt sketched the skyline, Aiden gathering driftwood for a fire. As flames crackled, Wyatt pulled a small box from his jacket, a silver band etched with intertwined lassos. Not a proposal. Not yet. But, promise. Through the shit. Aiden's eyes misted, slipping it on. Forever's a long road. The kiss salted with sea spray, hands roaming under wool coats, urgency tempered by tenderness. They made love on a blanket as tide receded, stars pricking the canopy, bodies sinking like heartbeats in harmony. But harmony fractured mid-February. The PI called. Got a lead. Harlan's safe deposit box in Austin deeds, maybe evidence. But it's key to both names. Kane and Harper. Wyatt's face lit. Road trip. Borrow Riley's beater. Aiden hesitated, Fed's shadow looming. Risky. Necessary. Wyatt's grin was reckless, infectious. They hit the road at dusk, I-5 southbound, rain easing to mist. Hours dissolved in stories. Wyatt's childhood rodeos, broncos bucking like Harlan's temper. Aiden's hidden journals, poems of unspoken longing. Laughter laced the miles, but tension coiled. What if the box held more than vindication? Proof Elena knew, or worse, participated? Dallas loomed by midnight, neon veins pulsing. They crashed at a cheap motel off 35. Bodies entwining in exhaustion's embrace. Wyatt woke Aiden at pre-dawn with lips on his throat, slow and savoring. Love you, he breathed, words new and terrifying. Aiden's heart stuttered. Love you too. The admission sealed, irrevocable. Morning brought the bank. Sterile lobby, teller summoning the box with clinical detachment. Inside. Stacks of bonds, a ledger of payoffs and letters, Elena's, pleading with Harlan to stop the land grabs. For the boys' sake, one read. They're innocent. But buried deeper. A paternity test yellowed. Wyatt Kane, father Harlan. Subject. Aiden Harper. Probability. 99.8%. The world grade. Aiden's hand shook. I'm yours. Blood. Wyatt stared, horror dawning. Harlan's son. Not Step. Real. Betrayal's apex. Not just stolen legacy but stolen identity. Harlan had known. Hidden it to control, pitting brothers against each other in a farce of family. Wyatt crumpled the paper. He made us enemies. From the start. Aiden backed away, chest caving. All those years. You hated me because I was the favorite. But I was you. Wyatt lunged, gripping his arms. No. I never hated you. Envied maybe. But this? It changes nothing. Everything. Tears tracked his cheeks. Brothers. Lovers. We're fucked up, but we're real. The embrace was lifeline and noose, sobs mingling. Outside, Texas wind howled, mirroring the rift. They drove back north in silence, the box's contents a Pandora's cache. Enough to bury Harlan's ghost. But at what cost to their souls? Seattle welcomed them with indifferent rain. But the truth festered. Poisoning touches once electric. Aiden lay awake nights, Wyatt's warmth a reminder of tangled bloodlines. Could love transcend the incestuous shadow Harlan cast? Or would it consume them? The storm peaked not in confession but confrontation. A letter arriving, postmarked Willow Ridge, from a name neither knew, Harlan's half-sister, claiming the ranch's deed in his true name. March winds whipped Puget Sound into froth, mirroring the turmoil churning in Aiden's veins as he stared at the letter's elegant script. Dearest nephews, the ranch was never Harlan's to give. It reverts to me upon his passing, blood rights. Come home or lose it forever. Aunt Lydia. Postmarked from a P.O. box in Austin. It arrived like a serpent in Eden, slithering into their fragile peace. Wyatt crumpled it after the third read, hurling it into the fireplace Riley had installed, flames devouring the paper as if it could erase the claim. She's bluffing, Wyatt growled, pacing the living room. Now there's again after scraping rent from overtime. Harlan's sister? Haven't heard from her since I was a kid. Ghosted after Mom's funeral. Aiden, curled on the couch with knees to chest, felt the words echo hollow. The paternity revelation had lodged like shrapnel. Brothers, not steps. Bloodbound, their love twisted into something profane. Harlan's ultimate curse. Nights since the bank, intimacy faltered. Kisses halting. Hands withdrawing as guilt's whisper hissed wrong. Aiden craved Wyatt's touch, the anchor in chaos, but mirrors reflected monsters now. Elena's eyes in his own staring back accusingly. Call her, Aiden urged, voice steady despite the quake inside. End this. Wyatt dialed, speaker on, tension coiling. A woman's voice answered, smooth as aged bourbon. Wyatt Kane? About time. I've waited years for this reckoning. The call stretched 20 minutes. Lydia Kane, 62, a Dallas realtor who'd severed ties after Harlan stole their father's will in the 80s. He forged it, boy. Left me scraps while he built that empire on lies. The ranch deed? In my name originally. Reversion clause? Ironclad. Wyatt's knuckles whitened on the phone. And the fraud? The tribes. Lydia's laugh tinkled cold. Harlan's sins, not mine. But I'll testify for a cut. 50-50 on the auction. Or I bury you with him. Click. Silence deafened. Aiden crossed to Wyatt, arms encircling from behind. She's poison. Like him. Wyatt leaned back, head on Aiden's shoulder, exhale ragged. But she could clear the freeze. Get us the money. His hand covered Aiden's, thumb stroking knuckles. The touch lingered, electric, but Aiden pulled away gently. We need air. He grabbed coats, leading them to Gasworks Park, relic smokestacks looming like rusted sentinels. They walked the Kite Hill, spring buds piercing soil, Puget's expanse glittering below. Aiden broke first. The test. It's eating me. We're brothers, Wyatt. This us it's. Wyatt halted, spinning him around, grip firm. Don't you dare. Rain misted their faces, mingling with tears. Harlan made us strangers, rivals, victims. But he didn't make this. He pressed palm to Aiden's chest, over heart. Feel that? It's yours. Always was, blood or not. Aiden's resolve cracked, lips crashing into Wyatt's. Desperate, devouring a reclamation. They sank to damp grass, hidden by scrub, hands fumbling buttons, reclaiming bodies as sacred ground. Wyatt entered him slow, eyes locked, each thrust a vow. Not wrong. Holy. Aiden arched, cries swallowed by wind, climax shattering like glass into light. In afterglow entwined, Aiden whispered, I can't lose you to this. You won't. Wyatt's promise sealed with a kiss to his temple. Emboldened, they plotted. Contact the tribes. Leak the ledgers anonymously via the PI. Riley connected them to a Comanche elder in Lubbock, voice gravelly over Zoom. Your father's theft scarred us deep. But truth heals. We'll partner, sue jointly. The alliance formed, a phoenix from Harlan's pyre. Wyatt's stable boss, sensing the fire, fronted alone for a lawyer. Queer activist type. Pro bono for the cause. Depositions loomed but hope bloomed. Restitution for the res, a settlement carving them a sliver. Yet Lydia circled, emails escalating. Blood calls to blood. Ignore me, and I'll expose your little secret, the brothers who play house. Attached. A grainy photo, time-stamped last month, Aiden and Wyatt kissing outside the bistro. Stalker? Coincidence? Paranoia gripped. One dusk, returning from market runs, Wyatt with fresh halibut, Aiden with tulips, they found the door ajar. Inside, drawers ransacked, Elena's rosary gone. She's here, Wyatt hissed, grabbing a poker from the hearth. They cleared rooms, hearts pounding, finding only chaos. But on the fridge, pinned with a ranch-branded knife. Family secrets don't stay buried. Join or burn. Elle. Terror iced Aiden's spine. We go public. Now. The press conference hit like a thunderclap. Seattle Times scoop. Ranch heir exposes father's fraud against tribes. Wyatt at the podium, voice steady, Aiden beside him, hands linked under the table. Cameras flashed, questions pelted. Relationship to the victim? Motive for coming forward? Wyatt deflected with grace. Justice. For all stolen from. Backlash roared. Online trolls spewing slurs. Queer grifters milking tragedy. Lydia's countermove. A press release claiming slander by illegitimate spawn. But allies surged, queer orgs rallying funds, tribal leaders praising their courage. Donations trickled. Enough for a security deposit on a proper apartment in Ballard, overlooking the shipping lanes. Intimacy healed in increments. Lazy Sundays baking Elena's cornbread, Wyatt's head in Aiden's lap as they streamed old westerns, laughing at the tropes. We're the outlaws now, Aiden teased, fingers carding hair. Wyatt's grin flashed. With better kisses. Lovemaking evolved, slower, deeper, exploring edges. Wyatt's submission, Aiden's command, trust rebuilding taboos into tapestries. April bloomed riots of cherry blossoms, and with it the hearing. Federal court in Austin, air thick with magnolia and malice. They flew down, Riley crashing on their couch for cat-sitting. The courtroom hummed. Tribal reps in ribbon shirts, Lydia in pearls smirking across the aisle. The judge, a stern woman with silver braids, banged gavel. Proceed. Wyatt testified first, voice cracking on Mom's letter, the paternity bomb. He stole our lives. Made us hate what we are. Aiden followed, Elena's coerced signatures laid bare, tears tracing his cheeks. She protected us. In death, so will we. Lydia's turn. Venomous, claiming moral high ground. Those boys? Corrupted by their father's sins. And each other. Gasps rippled. The judge's gavel silenced her. Recess brought collapse. Wyatt in the hall bathroom retching. Aiden holding him, whispering, almost free. They emerged, hands clasped defiantly. Verdict dropped like manna. Estate dissolved, restitution to tribes, Lydia's claim invalidated, forged by Harlan decades back. Wyatt and Aiden, cleared with a modest settlement, $200,000 each, enough for roots. Elation crashed in the hotel that night. Champagne smuggled in, bodies celebrating on silk sheets, Wyatt inside Aiden, rhythms syncing to heartbeats. We did it, Wyatt gasped, release cresting. Aiden clung, whispering, we survived. But dawn brought the aftershock. Lydia's parting shot, a whisper to reporters outside. Ask about the brothers' bed. Headlines twisted. Inheritance scandal or incestuous affair? The world intruded, judgments glare hot. Back in Seattle, Aiden fielded calls from old Willow Ridge acquaintances. Freak show, one sneered. Wyatt punched walls, bourbon calling. Aiden found him on the balcony, bottle in hand. Don't let her win. Wyatt's eyes, red-rimmed, met his. How? We're monsters to them. No. Aiden knelt, taking the bottle. We're us. Flawed, fierce. And free. The kiss anchored, pulling Wyatt back from the brink. But freedom's price loomed. Identities forged where love met loathing, demanding they choose hide or shine. As blossoms fell, they chose light, hand in scarred hand. May's sun gilded Seattle's harbors, turning the sound to molten gold as Aiden and Wyatt stood on their new balcony in Ballard. A modest two-bedroom overlooking locks where salmon leaped against currents, symbol of persistence. The settlement wired through, they bought it outright. No mortgage chains, just equity in each other. Tulip boxes overflowed window ledges. A nod to Elena's garden. Wyatt's Mustang sketches pinned the fridge. Aiden's poetry journal open to verses of bloodlines rewritten in rain. Life settled into rhythms. Wyatt's equine therapy program for at-risk youth, channeling ranch ghosts into healing. Aiden's urban farm startup, plots in community lots sprouting heirloom tomatoes, a tribute to sustainable dreams deferred. But scars suppurated. The headlines lingered like tattoos, tabloids dredging scandalous siblings, online forums festering with vitriol. Harlan's curse lives on. Lydia vanished post-verdict, her empire crumbling under her own fraud probes, but her poison seeped. Anonymous letters to Wyatt's clients, whispers at Aiden's market stalls. Freak brothers, one hissed, snatching kale without paying. Wyatt hardened first, canceling a session after a dad's pointed stare. Can't risk it, he muttered over dinner, grilled salmon, Aiden's recipe. Kids deserve better than our mess. Aiden's fork clattered. Our mess? Or the world's? Anger flared, months of suppressed fury. We fought for this truth, love. Don't let them cage us again. Wyatt's eyes flashed. Easy for you. Your farm's faceless. Mine's faces, trusting eyes. One slip, and I'm the predator Harlan painted. The fight escalated, words weapons. Aiden accusing retreat. Wyatt hurling naive like a gauntlet. Plates shattered, echoes of Harlan's rages. Aiden stormed out, walking locks till midnight, salmon shadows mocking his turmoil. On a bench by the fish ladder he wept, for Elena's secrets, Mom's letter begging Harlan's mercy. For the boy he'd been, loving Wyatt from afar, now loving closer, deeper, defiled by blood's ink. Wyatt found him at dawn, coat over pajamas, thermos steaming. I'm sorry. He sat, offering coffee. Scared. Of losing you to this shit. Of being him, controlling, cruel. Aiden leaned into him, exhaustion yielding. We're not him. But we can't hide. Not anymore. Reconciliation brewed slow. Therapy sessions with a queer counselor in Belltown. Unpacking Harlan's legacy. The beatings, the lies, the love they forged in spite. You're survivors, she said. Rewriting the narrative. Dates intentional. Sunset sails on the Sound. Wyatt's hand in Aiden's, defying stares. Pride prep. Marching route planned. Signs reading love defies blood. June swelled with solstice light and the farm's first harvest. Berries bursting red. Shared at a potluck with Riley's crew. Toasts to resilience. Wyatt led his first group ride that week. At-risk teens on gentle mares. His voice steady. Horses don't judge scars. Neither should we. Aiden watched from the fence, pride swelling, the paternity shadow shrinking. But climax crested unbidden. A call from the tribal elder, voice jubilant. Lawsuit won, full restitution. And a gift. Acreage near the res. For your program. Joint venture. Heal the land, heal the people. Wyatt hooped, spinning Aiden in the kitchen. Willow Ridge reborn. Right. Aiden's heart stuttered. Texas? Us. Wyatt knelt, ring box resurfacing, upgraded, gold with emerald inlay. Not running back. Building forward. Marry me? Blood brothers, whatever. You're my always. Tears blurred. Yes. The kiss sealed, future unfurling. Yet doubt's whisper persisted. Summer solstice eve they drove south. Not to claim land but confront ghosts. Willow Ridge shimmered mirage-like, bluebonnets bowing. The ranch, auctioned to a co-op, stood transformed. Solar panels glinting, tribal flags fluttering. They walked the riverbank, hands linked, Elena's rosary around Aiden's neck. Feel her? Wyatt asked, towing gravel. Aiden nodded, breeze carrying her laugh. Proud, I think. Of us. A shadow stirred. Locals gathering for a memorial, Harlan's ironic twist. Whispers hushed as they approached, but the elder waved them forward. Speak, he urged. Wyatt cleared throat, voice carrying. He broke us. But from breaks we mended. Love, real love. Doesn't heed blood or betrayal. It frees. Applause scattered, tentative then thunderous. An old ranch hand clasped Wyatt's shoulder. Knew you boys were good stock. Aiden's chest eased, judgment's weightlifting. Back in Seattle, wedding plans wove. Small beachside with Riley officiating, tribes and allies toasting. Vows exchanged under gulls' cries. In spite of, because of, I choose you. Honeymoon in the San Juans. Cabin on Orcas, kayak slicing fjords. Nights of skin and stars. Wyatt traced Aiden's freckles. No more hiding. Aiden smiled, content. Just living. Years folded. Farm expanded, therapy center thrived. A son adopted, little Elias, dark curls and fierce eyes, calling them dad with abandon. Betrayals faded to footnotes. Legacy rewritten in laughter, not loss. Yet in quiet moments, Aiden remembered the hook. Gavel's crack, eyes locking across oak. From ruin they carved grace. Message etched. Compassion conquers cruelty, freedom blooms in authenticity, identity, blood or chosen, binds if we let it. In the end they survived not despite family, but through the one they forged. Tender, tenacious, true.